Recording in
Welcome,
progress.
everybody, to That's Good Stuff, our weekly show where we dive into pop culture's newest releases. This week, we're almost to the end of the year, so movies are kind of limited. So we thought we'd check out The Boy in the Heron, who's on a limited release from Studio Ghibli. It's a Miyazaki film. He told us he was retiring, and he's back, though.
He's going to be back again,
what are you going to
apparently,
do?
because he just can't quit.
He just can't quit.
Was he doing another one after this?
That's what he's saying. That's what I saw a bit ago.
It's like George Strait and Elton John. It's the farewell tour. The fourth one.
Before the other farewell tour.
Yeah, before the next farewell tour. I cannot say that name.
So this movie, its dub cast includes Robert Pattinson, Gemma Chan, Christian Bale, Mark Hamill, Florence Pugh, Willem Dafoe, Dave Bautista, and that's all the people I know. There's others, though. All right, so this film, I'm not going to go through the plot too deeply, but basically it's during World War II, and a boy who was living in Tokyo at the time. Tokyo, of course, got firebombed in World War II, and during one of these bombings, the boy's mother died in a hospital. So the father took the boy, and they moved out to the country. Yeah.
I don't think it was a bombing.
Was it just like a fire?
I think so, because if I'm not mistaken, it was like 1942 to 43, and America wasn't bombing Japan at that point. They were still fighting in the Pacific.
Okay. So they moved out to the country. The dad he works in a factory, you were told. Looks like they make planes.
Yeah, that got uncomfortable quick.
And I guess he married his wife's sister.
Yep. Who looked just like the wife.
As you would do.
It's like, well,
apparently that is
thing, right?
Apparently that is a Japanese culture thing where they try to, if someone marries into a family, they try to keep with that family.
Okay.
What do you call it? What was that movie? Silence. Do you remember Silence, Michael? Where they had that one woman who married Liam Neeson's character. Then after Liam Neeson died, she married Andrew Garfield's character.
I don't remember that, but
well, that's they try to keep.
I know I've seen movies where they do that, where they address that before, but
it seems like she got pregnant really fast or something.
Yeah, that was pretty. When she's like, here,
it says a year after his mom died, they went to.
Really?
So they had a year's time in between there.
Because it was a little strange, just because it's like he meets her for the first time, but she already has a ring on.
Like,
maybe
she's already pregnant.
Her, I don't know if he was.
Maybe he was staying with family until
or like
the dad moved him out
or something.
Yeah.
So
it seems like him and his dad hadn't like really talked for a while.
So they move out to the country with their family in-laws, where they have this kind of old Japanese estate, but then they have like a house connected to it where they live. And how much do I want to get into? Is the boy discovers there's strange things happen on this property, as they tell him. And so the first thing is he sees this heron that seems to be talking to him, and this heron will lead him into a more kind of fantasy world, where he goes on a journey to save his new mother, and also interact with his bloodline, we'll say that. So I didn't want to spoil it too much, so that's kind of the easy plot line for it. So spoilers from now on, everything we talk about from now on. This is a Ghibli film. I'm not the biggest Ghibli fan here. I like the premise of this movie. I thought it was really cool, where you kind of in their modern world, going to a new place, and the place is mysterious and all kinds of this fantasy stuff happening. Really, kind of the first part kind of reminded me of a novel or something like that.
Yeah.
For me, it was a little long, I thought, and kind of just it was pretty predictable what was going to happen, what was going on, and it just got kind of, I don't know, wore out its welcome because I liked the middle section up to a point, up to the point where like the parakeets come in. I thought I was pretty into it, and I really like the Heron as a
Yeah.
character. I thought that was a real interesting character. I liked his design and everything like that. But it's for me, it was kind of a B tier kind of Ghibli movie. But let's hear what you guys have to say. So, Michael, you want to go next?
Sure. I feel like I'm like the most positive of everyone that I've talked to about this movie. I thought it was great. I loved like when I watch an anime movie, like I want to be introduced to a world of complete like difference. Like everything's different. Everything's weird and fresh and strange. So like throughout, because for me, like even the time afterwards, like I was like, like we went to Alamo, and so they bring their chicks. I think it's probably 20 to 30 minutes before the end of the movie, and I was like, we're already almost done with this movie. How? Like I was like,
Oh,
this is
really?
crazy because there's also kind of not a lot happens in the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of wandering around. It's a very, very, very quiet movie. Like 3/4 of the entire movie is very silent. He's
I
just kind
don't
of like
think he really talks until like 30 something minutes in because he has like that small voiceover at the very
yeah.
beginning, and then
Mhm.
he's just silent for
He's just
like
kind of
a
like
half
just
hour.
obeying and just kind of which fits the story because he's just kind of wanted to be like a recluse and left alone into his own dark thoughts of missing his mom and grief and everything like that. Which we see in the beginning when he like bashed himself in the head with a rock because he doesn't want to go to school and doesn't want to be out and about. He just wants to stay in his room. Um, but yeah, I mean, one of the big things of Ghibli is always the art, and like the art in this movie, I freaking loved the just all the movie. I was just watching it, and I was like, why you? Just the moment where okay, so he's in bed and he has the little towel over his head, and that entire scene, I was kind of just watching the towel and like where he would put it, and then it ended up falling off the bed. And I'm like, you just make this so much more complicated than you need it to be. And it looks so good. Just these simple little details they put in everything they do. Like even the cars coming up, it's slowly moving, different pieces are moving differently. And you're like, what? There's just so much detail in the movie. It's ridiculous. But story wise, this is one that I think Thomas put it after the movie. He was like, "This is one of the most unclear Ghibli movies that I feel like we've seen." But I also really love that because I feel like there is a clear answer in it. Like I kept seeing,
Yeah.
I was like, "There's something here that I'm very much like I want to watch it again," because it was very much just kind of this. So like what I can wrap my head around is so like he goes this other world where his great uncle goes in, he disappeared and kind of it's like separate from time, but also time altogether. So it's their whole generation. So like his mom's young, he's at his time, his grandma, aunt, whatever the old lady is that Florence Pugh plays is in there, but she's like middle aged, whatever. So it's kind of all these different doors that goes to different years of their genealogy, whatever. And then the uncle guy's like, hey, you can stay here forever and kind of control this world that we built, but you have to be like you should be pure and do it right and everything. But it's also it's a strange, weird message that I'm trying to figure out what the heck he's trying to say. Because the boy at the end is like, I can't do that because I have malice in me. Like I did this to myself. I caused this harm. I lied and did all these things. But it's also he's like, but I also want to go back to that world and I want to try and I want to. That's where I'm going to find my friends. I'm going to grow and like be able to live this life. Whenever I just I don't know. I found a lot of the notes interesting, but it's definitely one I need to watch again because I definitely didn't understand probably most of it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the characters a lot. The Heron I liked a lot, like you said, and I think it's
Mhm.
kind of a popular or a common thread of what I've heard. And I feel the same way to where you get to the point where the parakeets are, and like all up to that, I'm like, this is awesome. The
Mhm.
parakeets I didn't mind, but I didn't feel like I was glad they were in it as little as they were. Like it
Yeah.
kind of seemed unnecessary.
For me, I just like the weirdness of the stuff
Yeah, that's what
before it,
Alex said.
and then the parakeets came and became got a little too fanciful or
Yeah, it just
something
kinda
like that.
seems like, "Oh, okay, we're in just some weird
That's
Narnia
Yeah.
world or something where the king is trying to, save Narnia or change their people."
that's a that's a problem I have with a lot of Ghibli movies is that they'll have like these introduction of characters like 3/4 of the way in to a movie that have like a really big impact on the end, and we're just like, who are you and why are you here? That's random because the parakeets weren't really like I guess important for most of the movie, and then they kind of see them like, oh, it's a threat, kind of thing. And then the parakeet king gets introduced 25 minutes before the movie ends, and then apparently he's kind of an antagonist, but not really. So I really don't. I don't know. It's just kind of frustrating, but that happens a lot in Ghibli movies where someone just shows up and has an impact on the ending.
What's weird though, because they also plant like the idea, especially with like the seagulls, or whatever, like they were earlier, of like
Pelicans.
pelicans. There you go. It's like none of them are really the bad guys. He's like, we're just doing what we were
Yeah.
born to do. Like we're stuck here, and this is all we have to eat. We can't do anything else. And then the parakeets is like they weren't really the bad guys. They were just stopping. They were trying to follow through with whatever rule set they had in their kingdom of, hey, you're not supposed to disturb them in the birth chamber, whatever the heck that means. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I guess they were kind of hinting that it was an imperfect world that the
Yeah.
uncle created, that he brought in animals that weren't supposed to be in there, so they're starving. And then he had these weird arbitrary rules. So it's I think it was kind of hinting that he had created an imperfect world while trying to create a perfect world. But
Mm. So I guess maybe that's why he wanted the kid, 'cause, like, you're young and innocent. Hopefully you can, but the kid had been through. So interesting. So like he brought in the kid, wanting him to be able to make this world out of purity and the
mhm,
imagination of childhood. But the kid had been through war and seen his mom die. He'd already been through so much. He was basically interesting. I like
yeah.
that. But yeah, so the movie, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the pacing, even though I felt like it definitely was slow in my opinion. Like you said, you felt it was drawn out, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the world. A lot of questions, but yeah, cool characters. A lot. Anything else? I don't think so. Took me a minute to realize that was Dave Bautista. I was like, hold on, wait a second. He first talked, and then
Really?
it wasn't until later on that he was walking with they had the girl, his mom in the casket, whatever, Sleeping Beauty, and that's when I was like, oh, it's Dave Bautista, duh. But
Yeah, I didn't recognize Christian Bale.
really,
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I didn't recognize Florence Pugh. I thought it was like
I
Michelle
didn't recognize her at all.
Rodriguez.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
who that was.
But
But
yeah.
yeah, I
Um,
liked it though. I really
I
liked it.
I I I recognized Willem Dafoe right away.
True. It's such a small part, but such a cool
Yeah.
part. I love
Yeah,
that. I loved
yeah,
it.
that was a good part.
Very
All right,
cool.
Thomas, what'd you think?
This was kind of middle of the road. It's kind of disappointing, honestly. I had some, I guess, some high expectations. I don't know. I just been hearing a lot of like, oh, this is his best one since
Yeah, I've heard
Spirited
that a
Away
lot.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, really? Because this is like, okay, like my least favorite is Earthsea, Tales of Earthsea. That movie's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. And then you have like Ponyo, which I don't really like all that much. It's a little too weird for me. Um, and then this one kind of falls a little above that. I liked some of the characters a lot. Like the Heron was probably one of the best parts, especially I haven't seen the sub yet, but especially for the dub, Robert Pattinson did fantastic.
Yeah.
That was totally out of norm for what we've seen from him. I mean, we've seen a lot from him, but just have him voice act like this was very interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just couldn't get a handle on the story. I didn't know what it was trying to say or if it had something to say. Um, the fact that people keep saying, "Oh, this is basically a pseudo autobiography of it," I'm just like, how? Like, I really don't. Like, about 40 minutes in, we get away from the war, which I'm kind of glad because I don't like to focus on that part. But then we get like the fanciful stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I don't really understand why a lot of this is happening. I mean, like they had like the tower come down, which I thought was kind of an interesting like uh, concept, but they really just don't. Nothing was like solid for this, and I don't really I could never get a grasp on it. Um, but yeah, it was very middle of the road for me. I was kind of disappointed in it, and it was a little too long.
Mhm.
Like they probably could have shaved off 20 minutes or so and probably be a little tighter, but
It
I don't
kind
know.
of feels like The Wind Also Rises, kind of like
Yeah,
where you watch it, but you don't really remember a lot.
remember it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because like
Uh,
my favorites are like Howl's and Mononoke and Castle in the Sky. I love those. I like those characters a lot, but I also really like the stories. And this one, I was just like, I don't really care, to be honest with you. And so I don't know.
Yeah, I think that tower was a good set scene too, because like the part where he's trying to like get under it
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
and the
cool.
staircase, I thought that was pretty cool. And even when he does like get into it, when the Heron like kind of leads him into it, where there's those lights, and then he goes into that center room, that was pretty cool too. Um, but yeah, for the like you guys said, I like Robert Pattinson's voice direction and the way he took it. It didn't even sound like him, but
Well, something that I read, and I was telling Michael, apparently he doesn't really do any studying for roles for like this, for like different accents. He just like reads the script. He's like, I think I'm going to go with this way. And it's kind of turned out well for him because, like Devil All the Time and The King and Batman, you know, those accents that he did, because he's, British, but those accents that he used for those parts really fit what he was doing. And so I think it's kind of interesting. So
yeah, when I was watching, I was trying to figure out who it was. I was like, "Who is that?" It's like Danny DeVito. No, it's.
my toe,
And
my toe.
I thought it was like Willem Dafoe for a while
Yeah,
there.
it sounds like
but-
him.
Yeah.
So maybe
That-
he.
That was weird that he only showed up for like a 3-second cameo for that one pelican.
Maybe he just copied his voice from the lighthouse and is like, I'm gonna try to do Willem
He hung
Dafoe.
around too much with him. He's like, I know
Yeah.
what this Heron sounds like. I know. Oh man.
All right, well, not much to say on this movie. You guys have anything else?
Huh?
Anyone remember the music? I don't really remember
I
that.
actually did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like,
When he's in the room, I remember.
yeah, it was like that was when it first hit me. I was like, oh, I've never, because I don't really notice music in movies. I don't know why. It just never occurs to me, and so, or it never like sticks with me that well. Like even like people are like, oh, that theme is so good here. I'm like, sure. But yeah, when this movie started, I initially, like, without even thinking about it, started noticing it. I was like, that's weird. I usually don't. So I'm gonna have to listen to the soundtrack. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm like I said, higher than most people. But I just love being thrown to worlds like this because it's so unbelievable and weird and strange. Like I'm thinking of the part where you have the boatmen and they're like those shaded guys that are just going, like
Oh, yeah.
trying to do anything other than animation would just make it seem lame. But this is just like, oh man, what is this world? There's so many questions that it's brought up, and just makes me want to watch it several times, try and get more. But I don't want them to answer more of it. So I think it's why I enjoyed it so much. It's just how much it didn't answer and how much I feel like I feel like there are answers in this movie. Like I said, I feel like there is a clear point that he's trying to make, but I didn't get it. But I'm kind of excited to try and get it without really, searching or just actually watching the movie. Sounds fun, but
The old ladies kind of scared me.
they were so unpleasant looking.
Okay, were they supposed to be like the Seven Dwarves or something?
That's
there
what
were
that was
seven of
my
them.
first thought. I was like, why are we here? What is this fairy? It was very fairy tale-ish, the whole
Yeah.
movie.
Okay, I do have one thing to say. That ending was not the most satisfying. It's like we moved back to Tokyo. Credits.
I didn't hate it, but yeah, it was kind of abrupt. It's just
Blue
and then
blank blue screen.
Yeah, blue screen.
Those credits were very strange. I was like, what is this, like a old like PBS show credits that I'm looking at right now?
Yeah.
I like the house when he's in the house, like some of the stuff, that thing he drinks out of by the
Yeah,
bed.
like the weird like neti pot.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like
the herbal
I
tea
was like,
concoction.
why are we
I was like, I may have to try that.
drinking straight
Where
from
do
the
we get one of
kettle?
those?
They're like, no, that's supposed to go up your nose.
I like when the parts. I mean, I like the part where he gets into a fight and you kind of like see it off to the distance. I like how he gives the old guy cigarettes.
Yeah,
They're-
he's like,
they're
there were only
const-
2 in there.
Yeah, that's like the part where he first starts talking.
Yeah,
It's-
you finally like, started getting, and I like which I kind of wish they had taken a bit more. Even like if we were talking about like not putting the parakeets in and just having it kind of the smaller story of just actually the boy and the heron, because like
Mhm.
those points where like the heron's like you are welcome. Whenever he keeps going around, he's like almost freaking out. He's like so angry at this heron to try and kill it. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting. And then the other one scene that I thought was really cool was whenever his mom was on the boat shooting fire up and trying to stop all of them from eating the little
Yeah.
floating
I like
cotton balls.
I like just the creepiness of the heron at the beginning where
Yeah.
his like mouth's coming through his
You're
other
like,
mouth.
what is
and-
going on here?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
just-
that
Well,
one's
that
ahead.
one part where he confronts the heron with the after the fake mom dissolves,
Mhm.
and the part where I was like, okay, maybe like it's a villain or something. Is like, shoot my heart, my heart right here.
Mhm.
It's like, if you miss, I'm going to eat yours. I'm just like, yeah, dark, you dark, and then it gets really goofy all of a sudden. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
And then one other scene that I thought was kind of cool animation was when he goes into the room with the
Oh, dude,
mom and
yeah.
all
The
that
paper?
paper. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like almost like a
It-
mouth, like
Yeah, yeah.
was
It looked like
very
little
cool.
things
Yeah.
attacking him.
I love that scene. I thought for a moment, because I thought that was like trying to recreate like the beginning of the movie where he's trying to get to his mom who's burning, and like
Yeah.
I thought it was like gonna be bandages and he was almost gonna wake up like bandaged, like he had just woken up after that point or something. I don't know why, but that didn't happen. But yeah.
Nope.
Interesting movie.
All right. Interesting movie.
For sure.
Catch it while you can. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff. And we will see you next time.